Hey, what's going on? It's now 4 o'clock.
Castle to Wemby, rising deep three. Wee-wee! Victor Wembanyama, 6 feet behind the line, ties the game at 108.
The Spurs upset the Thunder in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals in double overtime. Victor Wembanyama, 41 points, 24 rebounds, and 3 blocks in 49 minutes. Game 2 will be tomorrow. Eastern Conference Finals start tonight at Madison Square Garden. Cavs and Knicks. Game 1, New York favored by 7. Cavs coming off back-to-back 7-game series while the Knicks have had over a week off. The Mariners snapped a 3-game losing streak last night, host the White Sox again tonight. That first pitch at 6:40. Bryce Miller gets the call for the M's. Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice has violated his probation, tested positive for marijuana, ordered to spend 30 days in jail. Got more of the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing coming at you right now. Brian Noel of Fox Sports Radio will join us coming up at 5:20. All right, depending on what report you read, and I've seen multiple reports, but I did speak to multiple people that work for the franchise today. Obviously, I've got a lot of friends that work for the Blazers, and I'm heavily involved in what they're doing throughout the course of every season, but I got the number at 70. So somewhere between 50 and 70 people were laid off today with the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, the original number I got was 70. I'm seeing a couple of reports that it was 50. I think it's closer to 70, but no matter how you slice it, that's a lot of people that were informed that their services were no longer needed. Now, the hard part for me is because I work with the team and I've been around the franchise for a long time. I've got a lot of very good relationships with people that work in different departments across the board. And I mean really smart, very sharp individuals who do great work and have for a number of years for the team. And I asked somebody earlier today, going back to when Paul Allen purchased the Trailblazers, were there big layoffs? Were there a bunch of cuts? And that person told me no, that Paul actually added bodies to his staff when he took over the team. So I hate days like this. And I think even most of you would feel the same way. Even for your enemies, you don't wish job loss because of the stress that it puts on the individual. I hate to see people who are entrenched in their careers, who are doing good work, get laid off. And a lot of times with a lot of big corporations, it's simply just because they're trying to, focus on the bottom line. So they look at a spreadsheet, you're a number, and they want to cut certain numbers from that bottom line. It happens in radio all the time. So I totally understand and have lived with that for over 20 years. So I know what it's like to deal with uncertainty, with rumors and all that stuff. And I think everyone knew that when the Blazers were sold and they had a new owner come in, that change was inevitable. It was going to happen. Now, I've also mentioned before that, because of my world and what I deal with every day and what I work in, my biggest concern with Tom Dundon taking over on the business side has simply been about the broadcast. In Carolina with the Hurricanes, he elected to go with a television simulcast and use that over the radio instead of having a TV and radio team. I'm a radio guy. I love radio. I grew up on radio. I love listening to play-by-play on the radio. So for my own personal interests, I know that a television simulcast over the radio is subpar. It's not great. So that's been my main concern. Now, as a Trailblazer fan, and take my work out of it, I love Tom Dundon. I love guys who are aggressive. I love owners that want to win, and I love owners that are going to be willing to pour their resources into the players. And again, if you just look at the work that he's done with the Carolina Hurricanes, he spent money on the players. He turned really a basement-type franchise into one of the best teams in the NHL. He's done great work. So I have no doubts that with his determination, his desire to win, and his smarts, that he's going to take the Trailblazers to different heights. I really believe that. I think Tom Dundon is a very sharp individual. So I have no doubts that he's going to get the team where he wants them to be. But at the same time, my heart goes out to the people who lost their jobs. Now, on the broadcasting side, a lot of people are texting me and asking me about Travis. No decisions have been made about the broadcasts, television or radio. And I'm not going to talk about some of the people I know that had their job cut today because they have not made it public. There are a couple of people who have announced publicly that they were let go. Casey Holdaw, the Trailblazers insider and reporter, he announced it. He was one of the individuals that got cut. And Casey's one of those guys where the more I've been around him, the more I've had a chance to work with him, I really like him. He does good work. I enjoy the conversations I have with him, game in and game out. Like, that's just a really good dude that's been with the franchise for a very long time. I think over 20 years. He was one of the original founders of BlazersEdge.com and then went to work for the team. And he's done good work for them for a long time and really serves as kind of a connection point between the players, the team, and the fans. So I hate that. But at the same time, I do think that over the course of time, that a lot of times organizations, companies can become bloated. And you get a guy like Dundon who comes in and says, you know what? We don't need this, this, or this. These roles are unnecessary. We can cut this. We can add more to this person's plate. I think he just wants to make it a more well-oiled machine that's more cost-effective and can run at a high level. But here's the bottom line. Just because he's trying to get the business side operating at an optimal level, it's not going to change the way that he does things with the players. And that's the key here. So if you're a Blazers fan and you're trying to figure out how all of these changes impact you and what you desire the most, I don't think it does at all. Because when it comes to the salary cap, when it comes to spending, when it comes to building a winner, he's not going to cut costs. He understands that he's got to pay to get players, that he needs great players to be able to win championships. So I think in the end, he's going to pay whatever is necessary to get the job done there. Again, the key is he wants to win. He's ultra competitive. He's got a track record of success in Carolina, and he's going to be willing to spend money to be able to make that happen. And on the podcast this past weekend with Rich Paul and Max Kellerman, he talked about that second apron and the willingness to spend if you have a chance to win a championship.
Yes, there's a lot there. So on the drafting, unfortunately, in every sport, every year, people, the redraft in 5 years and 10 years is going to look different, no matter how talented your scouts are, how much diligence you do.
Well, the Blazers did pass on Michael Jordan, but you didn't know.
Yeah, that's a hard one to make up for. But I never scout players. Like, I don't think I can watch a player. I mean, I could see LeBron when he was 25 and know that that's pretty good, right? Like, we can all do that. But what I try to do on the scouting side is just when I think they're falling in love with a player is try to push, like, let's just assume they're not there. Let's assume you just can't pick them. What would you do? Just because you're right. It does happen where for whatever reason, the group locks in on something that might be right, might be wrong, but I'll always try to sort of push back when I think there's an emotional attachment early. And by the way, a couple times in hockey, I pushed back, they didn't give, and we ended up with really good players because they didn't sort of give to my nonsense.
Kudos to you for allowing them to do their job, though, because it happens like that.
Yeah, I think you got to challenge it, but they get to pick. Yes. Like, I'm not picking.
Right.
But look, Joe called me, and I don't even know if it was allowed, but he called me at the trade deadline, which technically we didn't own the team yet. And he had a deal, actually two different deals, but one in particular where we would have gone into the tax and it would have been whatever, $20 million. And, I was fine with it. I'm like, I want to run the business properly, but I want to win more than I want to make money. And that seems kind of obvious if you're in this business, right? Winning's the only reason you do it. Why would you buy a team? And so obviously there's a lot comes with staying in that tax in the NBA, right? They've made the rules in a way that it's complicated, but to go in strategically because you can pick up a young player or have a chance to win, I got to believe, well, we would definitely do it. And I got to think most people would. I don't know many owners that wouldn't do that. And I don't think we would operate any differently. I hope we're in a position where going in the tax means we have a chance to win. And if we have a chance to win, the tax is irrelevant.
Tom,
That's really what it's all about. If you got a chance to win, the tax is irrelevant. So as a Blazer fan, I'm telling you that he wants to win, and when push comes to shove, he's going to spend the money that's necessary to have the roster he needs to be able to compete for a championship. That's really what it comes down to. And that's all you want to know from your owner. Now, if an owner's got a team that's underperforming, that's not competing for a championship, I do not expect them to go into the salary cap and waste a bunch of money for a team that can't contend for a championship. But I do think Dundon, in terms of what he wants to accomplish, he wants to win badly, ultra competitive. He's got a plan, and he knows what he wants to do. And the good thing is, it's not like we're operating with an unknown here. He's got a track record in Carolina with the Hurricanes. Now, again, just because his formula works for the Hurricanes, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work the same in the NBA. And maybe he'll have to make some adjustments and make some changes. And with all the jobs that were cut today, we don't know if it was good decisions or bad decisions. Time will tell. But I am going to give him the benefit of the doubt before I start to, tell you what he is or isn't. He hasn't been on the job long enough for us to know what type of owner he's going to be. But clearly, he wants to run at an optimum level and make sure that he's not wasting money. And I don't have a problem with that. Just like I didn't have a problem with Paul. And if he wants to come in and spend a bunch of money and have a bunch of jobs and do this or do that, it's the same. I don't care about that either. What I care about is, does he want to win, and is he willing to do whatever it takes to make that happen? So that's where I stand on that. But like I said before, a lot of good people that I've worked with over the years for different objectives, good people who have lost their job. And my heart goes out to them. And I'm sure, just like you have friends, they lose their job. You hate to see that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of good people that have worked for the organization for a long period of time, good people that have done good work and are now going to be moving on to something else, or to their next opportunity. But in regard to Dundon, I don't know. Time will tell. And again, if he wins and the team is successful and they're competing in the Western Conference and have a chance to win a championship, I think the fans are going to be okay with whatever business decisions he wants to make. And it's real easy for people to try and tell someone how they need to spend their money. I don't like to get into that game. He bought the team. He's taking the risk. He's got whatever opportunity he wants. He can do whatever he wants with the team. That's up to him. That's not up to me. It's not up to you. That's a decision for Dundon. He's the one that inherited the risk when he bought the team. So do what you feel is best. It's your team. And we'll see if these decisions are good or not. All right, we'll keep things rolling. If you want to chime in, 503-248-0620. That's your telephone number. Knicks, Cavs coming up tonight, game one of the Eastern Conference Finals. And we'll get the second dose of Victor Wembanyama in the West Final coming up tomorrow night. And we got breaking news from Shams. Jason Kidd is out as coach of the Dallas Mavericks. New Mavericks president Masai Ujiri is making the change. And, of course, Mike Schmitz, who was with the Blazers, now the general manager of the Mavs. So Jason Kidd out as the Mavs coach. I think tip-off with the Knicks and Cavs, 5:30. It's going to be on ESPN. All right, Brian Noe's going to join us at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, just got a message from the 503. It says, I'm listening to Rip City Radio. And you're right, the news is sad, but I feel better after listening to you. I agree. The new owner wants to win, and he's got a path he wants to take to get there. I get it. It's his decisions to make. So glad you're a part of the program. Well, I appreciate that. I'm just calling it how I see it. I'm not here to sound the alarm about Tom Dundon. How can I? Look at his success and what he's done with the Carolina Hurricanes. And ultimately, isn't that what we want? I want two things. I want the Trailblazers to remain here in town for an extended period of time, and I want the Trailblazers to win a championship. I also would understand why, if you bought the Blazers, why you might consider looking elsewhere to take the team. I still can't get over that number. It was shocking to me. I think the Blazers were 30th, dead last in the NBA in sponsorship dollars, corporate sponsorship dollars. And what pisses me off is that the local leadership has done such a bad job of creating a business climate here in town that we've seen a lot of good companies leave. We've seen the downtown area become, nothing like it was 20 years ago. And so that's frustrating to me. But I believe what Dundon said. If this deal gets done and they get the funding they need for the arena improvements, the team's not going to go anywhere. And then on top of that, once the team's locked into place, and you want a team that will compete for a championship and win, well, he's a guy that wants to do that. So the jobs that he cuts or the decisions that he makes on the business side, that's his job to do. He's got to put the position, or he's got to shape the franchise in the image that he wants. And then we have to trust that his track record of success and what he's been able to accomplish thus far will translate to the NBA. And there you have it. But I'm not going to sound the alarm. A lot of these people that are putting out these reports, they're aggregators. They haven't talked to Dundon. They don't know anything about him. And we're going to find out. But if he wins, the fans are going to be quite happy with how everything plays out. 503-248-0620. Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals tomorrow. Victor Wembanyama, 41 points, 24 boards, 3 blocks in Game 1 in 50 minutes of action. He's a freak. And then we got the Knicks and the Cavs coming up tonight at 5:30 on ESPN, Game 1 from Madison Square Garden. Let's go out to West Lynn and bring up Paul. Hey, Paul, I appreciate the call, my friend. What's on your mind?
Chad, my friend, I don't want to put you in a difficult position because I totally understand, you have a relationship with the Blazers, so I'll try to do all the cynical talking here, but stop me if it's too much. My concern is that Dundon has done nothing to quell the rumors of him being cheap. Obviously, with getting the staff out of the hotels early and no T-shirts during that playoff run. Then he had a conference recently where he was confronted about being miserly, and he said he would do what he needs to do to win, including going over the luxury tax. But now today, you're talking about another negative item about his finances and being cheap and slashing 70 jobs. And, unfortunately, some of them were your friends or even some of my friends. It kind of feels like Trumpian in that he keeps doing a bad action. He's not doing anything to change people's perceptions. I feel like the timing of this, the optics of it are not good because all this is happening very quickly. And he had just assured us that he's willing to spend, but it doesn't appear like it. And you intimated about Paul Allen, famously had wide open wallet. The problem is getting players to come to Portland. And I just saw a stat that was on some website. They had polled a bunch of anonymous NBA players, and Portland was on the top 5 destinations of places they didn't want to go to play. So obviously Portland's had a hard time bringing in marquee free agents. That's been our signature for the past 50 years. You got to pay to bring them in. And if it's appearing that you're really cheap, I am concerned about the commitment to winning from a fan's perspective.
All right, Paul, I appreciate the phone call. Let me respond to everything that you said. Thank you so much. First off, the whole idea about Portland not being able to attract free agents, I don't care who the owner is. They had Paul Allen for 30 years, and he had more money than God, and he was willing to do whatever it took to win, and he couldn't attract the big-name free agents. I don't care who owns the team or what decisions they make. You're never going to convince big-time NBA superstars that Portland is the best choice when they've got options. New York, Los Angeles, Boston, bigger markets, more opportunities, and in a lot of cases, teams with a better chance to win. So it's always going to be a challenge to get free agents in Portland. I was just discussing this online a couple of days ago. What's the biggest name free agent the Blazers have signed? You could say Dame the second time around, but that doesn't really count. Really, it comes down to two names. It's Brian Grant or Kenny Anderson. And then if you really want to, go to the bottom of the barrel, Wes Matthews, who signed, I think, a restricted free agent deal with the Blazers before he came over. And that's it. So no matter what the Blazers do, they're never going to be a free agent destination. They're going to build their team through the draft and via trade. That's how they're going to get it done. Attracting big-name free agents is never going to be a part of the formula for success for Portland. It never has been, and I don't expect it ever will be. Now, in terms of paying players, there's a salary structure in terms of what guys make. There's a max salary. Tom Dundon is going to pay for talent. So if he's got a chance to sign a max player, he'll sign a max player. It's that simple. There's a certain salary cap. There's a structure. You know what the stars are going to make. He'll pay the money to bring the players in. And there's no connection between the business side and how he wants to structure the business side compared to his decision-making with the players. He's not going to go cheap on the players. I don't believe that at all. And he has, and keep in mind, too, that perception, I did find it bizarre that a new owner would take over and get, I've never seen an owner take over and get a worse, run of, 3 or 4 weeks of just negative press. Like, it is bizarre, but his job is not to worry about perception. It's about making the decisions that he believes are best for the franchise now. Meaning, he's going to make the decisions that he believes are best, regardless of what the public perception is. And I would rather a guy make decisions he believes are best based on his conviction than worrying about how everyone views the decisions that he's making. Honestly, that's how I look at it. But in regards to being cheap, here he is with Max Kellerman and Rich Paul addressing that label.
That's what's confusing is, like my hockey team's been over the cap many times. They were the lowest in the league. They were at the floor when I bought them. You can go over the cap in hockey. If you have a hurt player, you can replace them. So I've been over the cap multiple times because there was a rule that allowed you to go over the cap. And at the same time, when I walk out of a room, I turn off the lights. And so that my friends make fun of me all the time. They tell me how bad I am at being rich. And I just don't want to waste money. I want to invest it. I'll have as many masseuse. I'll have the best food. We're going to take care of the players because it helps you win. It's part of the deal. Some of the stuff about how we're going to run the business, Portland spends $100 million more a year on their business than the Hurricanes do, not including players. The Hurricanes, since I bought the team, have the first or second best record in the league. So I'm just not going to waste $100 million just because somebody wants to write our article calling me cheap. I'm just not going to do it. And so it's hard because I don't think about a budget when it comes to the playing team and how to make sure we win. Some of the stuff that was blamed on money is actually not 100% true that I thought about the money. Like on traveling players, I just made a mistake. I just don't understand the league. In hockey, we don't travel extra people because we're not on vacation. We're here to win. So we don't want a distraction. The NBA seems to live with those distractions. It's not how I think about it. So you sort of got to learn, what's the differences between the two leagues. And, the hotel story with the staff is an interesting story, I think, because normally when you travel, you get late checkout, right? In this case, in sports, it's usually like 5% and never comes up. We went because it was last minute going to Phoenix. There was no hotels. I guess Phoenix in March is a pretty popular place. So had trouble getting hotels. And the hotel really wanted us to be out early because they needed the rooms. And so they wanted us to pay for a second night. And so we did that for the coaches and the players, but we got them to let us leave at 1:00. And I had a room at the hotel. I was there. So I'm like, lunch starts at 1:45. We have a huge ballroom with this really nice lunch for everybody. So I said, look, we'll do the players and the coaches. We'll stay. We'll pay the extra night. For the staff, we've got this big ballroom with food. We'll go down there and work. And everyone was down there. I was down there. I actually learned a lot during that hour because I got to talk to some of the training staff, et cetera. Like, I would do it again. I think it's actually pretty stupid to think that people who are there to work, who are being fed, and 45 minutes later, they weren't in the lobby. They brought their bags down in the room right by where the bus was, right next to my bag. And we sat down there and talked. And, you know, if that's too hard for people, I'm not right for them. You know, like, I want that culture.
All right, there you go. I just got a message from my man Josh. He says, fans complaining about how an owner spends money on an entertainment product feels comical. Why didn't these fans pull their money together and buy the team? Let Dundon work and do his thing. He's the owner. I mean, that's kind of how I see it. You know, when you buy the team and you take on the risk and you invest in buying the team, then you obviously have the right to be able to make the decisions that you think are best. And we heard right there, he gave an explanation to his decision not to take the two-way players. He did change his mind and send him to San Antonio once he got word that that's not how they do business in the NBA. I think that's a good thing. And he explained the situation with the hotel. He's got a plan, and he's got a formula for success. We've seen that now. He's got a track record of it in Carolina. So I'm going to sit back and allow him to make decisions, and we'll see how things play out. Now, at the same time, I hate the fact that good people that I care about have lost their job. It sucks. I hate it. But for Tom Dundon, being the owner now, you know, give him time. Give him time to be able to settle in and start to make real decisions, and we'll see what type of impact it has on the team. But again, this is not an unknown quantity here. We can take a look at what he's done with the Hurricanes. They're one of the best teams in the NHL now. And he's been willing to spend on players to make it happen. And really, like I said, yeah, I've got personal interest because I'm in radio, but as a fan of the team and wanting to see this team win a championship, and what do you want from an owner? Aggressiveness, a desire to win, and a willingness to spend to make it happen. I mean, Paul Allen, if there was no salary cap, Paul Allen would have spent whatever was necessary to win a championship. He would have. But I think Dundon, his desire to win, his track record of success, he'll be able to make that happen. And then in terms of the decisions that he made today on the business side, you know, time will tell if he made the good decisions or not. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can jump on board. You can share your thoughts. He also talked about his philosophy, kind of his, business philosophy, kind of how he approaches things. Let's take a listen.
It's a great way to say it. Yeah, it's all I think about. And all this other stuff, I think about being efficient. You know, like, I'm worried about parking spaces and getting in and out of lines. And all I think about is our fans want to come in and how do I get them in quicker? And, you know, so I spend a lot of time on things that maybe other people don't think about. It drives me crazy. If I see, you know, the wrong trash cans, I have in Carolina, they've worked with us to change the lights so people can get out of the arena quicker. And so unfortunately, I can't turn that off, right? All the things that sort of make me successful are things sometimes I wish I could turn off because they become, you know, these little things that everybody doesn't understand. And like, I make people, if they're going to print something, print on both sides of the paper. It's so stupid, but I can't help myself. If Portland sent me some decks and they're so thick and you got to go through them. And then, you know, I told them, hey, look, if you're going to send me stuff, so the next thing they send me, they're double-sided printed and, you know, it's a smaller piece. It fits in my backpack. We didn't waste whatever you waste doing it. I've got a lot of money. I can afford to waste paper, but I'm not going to do it. And so it works in my favor most of the time. But in these situations, you know, sometimes I probably pick on some things that I should have just let go. And hopefully I can learn from it and fix it.
All right, there's Tom Dundon. So I just got a message and I'm getting a lot of messages like this because Blazer fans are freaking out, and a lot of it is because of the reporting that's come out in terms of what he's going to do, what he's not going to do. Are you concerned about this? Are you concerned about that? I think one of the biggest things is this whole idea that he's looking to, spend $1 million on a coach. Now, you just heard his desire to win and his philosophy. Do you really think Dundon is going to, and keep in mind, he wants to win and wants to put this team in a position to compete. Is he really going to go out and hire a coach that is not the best decision for the team and what type of players they have just because he's willing to work for less than somebody else? I do not believe that at all. If you just look at the way he's handled things in Carolina with the Hurricanes, it would make no sense for what he wants to accomplish to go out and hire a coach just because he's willing to work for less than anybody else. I do not believe that. Now, he may not want to spend like Steve Kerr money and pay a coach $17 million a year, but I refuse to believe that he's going to hire a guy just because he's willing to work for the least amount of money, even if that coach is not the right fit for the team. That's absurd. That's crazy talk. So no, I don't buy into the whole idea that he just wants to pay $1 to $1.5 million for a coach. I don't believe it for a second. They will go through with their wide net. They'll talk to many different candidates, and I think they'll hire the coach that they believe is best for the team. And then based on that coach's experience, they'll come up with a number that is reasonable. That's how it's going to go down. Obviously, you're going to pay Tiago Splitter or an assistant who has no head coaching experience less than somebody that has head coaching experience. Like Terry Stotts has expressed interest in coming back to Portland. Terry Stotts is going to make more per year than Tiago Splitter or somebody else because he's got experience as a head coach and a track record of success as a head coach. But I refuse to believe that Tom Dundon, who wants to win and has a track record of success with the Hurricanes, is looking to hire an NBA coach that's going to be willing to work for $1 million just because he doesn't want to pay someone more than that. No way. Guys that want to win don't do that. That's crazy talk. So, no, I don't believe it at all. All right, 503-248-0620. Brian Bino, my good brother from Fox Sports Radio, coming up at 520. You can jump on board. We're talking about the Blazers staff changes today. I got the report. 70 employees were let go. Brutal day, horrible day. When you see people you know and care about who lose their jobs, so that stinks. Victor Wembanyama is taking over the world right now. Western Conference Finals, Game 1 went into double overtime. Phenomenal game. Knicks and Cavs kick off tonight from Madison Square Garden. So all of the arrogant Knick fans can get all gassed up and ready to go for the Eastern Conference Finals. But what sucks is if you're a Cavs fan or a Knicks fan, is knowing that if you get past this series, you have no chance in the next series. Like that's not fun. All right. I appreciate your time. Hope you're enjoying your Tuesday. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, telephone number 503-248-0620. Let's go out to the phones. Shanna in Beaverton wants to chime in. Shanna, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes. Hey, I noticed that I saw on about that Terry Stotts was wanting to come back. Man, I'd love to have him as a coach. If we can't get Splitter, he knew Damian Lillard, and now would be a good time because with all the good players we have, he'd be amazing to bring back. I'd love him.
Well, I'm a big fan, Shannon, and I appreciate the phone call. I love Terry Stotts. I loved him when he was here. Obviously, he's got a great connection with Dame. Big fan of Terry Stotts. So I would talk to him. He's expressed interest. Why not sit down with him and see what he's got to say about the squad? And, get his input on how he would work with this group to get them to the next level. I still believe that Tiago Splitter is the leader in the clubhouse. Like in terms of, their coaching search, you got to believe that Tiago Splitter has got a great chance to return as the full-time head coach of the Blazers. Based on what he did in year number 1, the grenade that he was handed that he dealt with, learned on the job, on the fly, in a very difficult situation and overcame tremendous adversity. So I think Tiago Splitter's got a great chance. And if he gets a job, I'm fine with that. As I've told you before, all I care about, like the idea that you would just hire a Splitter and not conduct a coaching search and you're a new owner coming in, like that didn't make sense to me. I'm always a big believer in sport that when you have an opening or you're considering somebody for a position like that of head coach, you need to go on a search. And you know why. I've explained it before. You do it for a couple of different reasons. One, you're allowing yourself to talk to many different people that know the game, know the league, know your roster, know your coaching, and you'll find out a lot about your team as you talk to these different guys who give you intel. So it's like a fact-finding mission. You're getting input from different coaches and different people that have competed against you to get their input on what you've got. And then you hear about how they would work with your squad and what they think about the group of guys that you got. So you're learning a lot about your team in the process. But the other reason why you do it is a lot of times if you go into a search with an idea that we're just going to hire this one guy, well, the reason why you open yourself up to a search is that you might be blown away by somebody that you talked to along the way and realize like, oh, didn't know that this was going to be the case, but the guy that we just talked to is the right guy for the job. So you open up the search and you talk to many different candidates because you might be surprised by someone you end up talking to. And that's a good thing. So you're exposing yourself to more qualified candidates. And through the process, you learn that, hey, maybe this guy's the right guy for the job. But you wouldn't know that unless you went out and conducted a full-on search. And then the other reason why you do it is, if, in fact, that Tiago Splitter remains the coach and is given the full-time job, the other thing that you do that's nice is that you strengthen Tiago's position. So he's not just handed the job, but you go out and do a full search and you talk to many different candidates, but you come back and say, hey, we talked to 5, 10, 15 different candidates, but after talking to all of them, we realized that Tiago Splitter is the right man for this job right now. So you strengthen his position by conducting a full search. So really there's 3 objectives there. One, because you might expose yourself to somebody who turns out to be the right guy for the job that you wouldn't have if you had not opened it up to a search with a wide net. 2, fact-finding mission. You get a lot of details and information about your team and your franchise and how it's set up because you're learning from these guys how they would utilize your squad. And then also, if you do make the hire, whoever you hire stood up in a competition against many other candidates. So it's really a good thing. But obviously, I'm like anyone else. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Terry Stotts. Really like him. He was great because he knew how to connect with fans here in Portland. He was a part of Rip City. Great relationship with Dame. And, if you talk to other coaches, Quinn Snyder being one, he's well respected around the league for his offensive acumen. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can jump on board, share your thoughts. If You got any thoughts on the Blazers and the news that came down today? The report I got was 70 people were cut loose and lost their job, which stinks. But, I think we all knew that change was coming. No decision has been made on the broadcast side in terms of what they're going to do with the radio and the TV, so I don't have any news for you there. And in regard to Dundon, I am going to look to his track record of success in Carolina before I listen to reports about what he is or is not. Let's let the guy settle in and, get a chance to make some real decisions that have an impact on the team on the floor before we start to cast judgment. That's all. And I know it's real easy in today's world. People love to hate on the billionaire, right? Well, that's just too much money. No one deserves to have that much money. Look, I don't care how much money you make or what you've done. I'm fascinated by a guy like Dundon. Self-made man, and now let's see what he does with the Blazers. Again, if you're a billionaire and you want to win and you're willing to spend to make that happen for the teams that I love, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. He wants to win. And he knows, like I do and you do, that if the team wins and has success, the fans are going to be okay with anything. So let's see how it shakes out. Elsewhere, Eastern Conference Finals coming up here in just over 30 minutes. Knicks, Cavs. But the real story last night was Game 1, Western Conference Finals, double overtime. Spurs get the win over the Thunder. And Victor Wembanyama, 41 points, 24 rebounds, 3 blocks, and hit a dagger 3 in the first overtime to even up the game at 108. And my apologies for all the people that had the under last night. The under was still in play at the end of the first overtime. It took 2 overtimes for that game to go over. But we see that a lot when you get to the conference finals. Teams are so good and they tighten up defensively. And the games, each possession. All the stuff that I've talked about with the Blazers, right? When you get to this level, every possession matters. Being able to get stops defensively are critical. And then obviously the star power. And we saw it last night. SGA had a poor shooting night. Victor Wembanyama was amazing. And the young Spurs guards hit big shots. We saw it from Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, Vassell, Keldon Johnson. They put together quite the squad. But Wemby was a freak. I don't know what the answer is, but the Thunder are going to have to get more physical with him, I can tell you that. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive. Brian knows coming up at 5:20. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing. All right, what's going on, my friends? It's now 5 o'clock. The Eastern Conference Finals kick off in 30 minutes from Madison Square Garden. The Cavs and Knicks, Game 1. New York, a 7-point favorite. Cavs coming off back-to-back 7-game series, while the Knicks have had over a week off. Tip-off will be on ESPN. The Spurs upset the Thunder in Game 1 last night in OKC. Double overtime. Victor Wembanyama, awesome. 41 points, 24 boards, 3 blocks in 49 minutes. Following the game, was asked about watching SGA get the MVP before the game.
I still got a lot to learn, and I want to get that trophy, many times in my career.
Mariners and White Sox tonight. First pitch at 6:40 from T-Mobile Park. Bryce Miller gets the call for the M's. They topped the Sox 6-1 yesterday to snap a 3-game slide. Rashee Rice, Chiefs wide receiver, violated his probation and was ordered to spend 30 days in jail. Brian Noe coming up at 5:20. All right, I talked about this on the show yesterday. After watching the San Antonio Spurs through the first couple of rounds of the postseason, it became very apparent to me that I just read them wrong. And it was based off of years and years of experience I have from watching the NBA. Throughout the course of my lifetime, there's been no team with great youth to show up into the postseason and just go win a championship. That's not how the process is supposed to work. Normally, and this goes all the way back to the early 80s up until now, teams, as they're formed, they start to take shape. And with that comes playoff runs that end up with frustrating losses. Like, this is how it goes. You end up running into a buzzsaw. You get beat. You got to get up back on your horse and learn how to win in those situations. And eventually you get the breakthrough and you're able to win a championship. I saw that with the Boston Celtics. I saw that with the Detroit Pistons, who had to learn how to get through the Boston Celtics and eventually did after some just gut-wrenching losses postseason time. The Chicago Bulls got upended by Boston and Detroit before they learned what it took to win in the postseason and eventually got over the hump and won a championship. I mean, this has been going on for a long time. But the San Antonio Spurs are different, and that's because of Victor Wembanyama. So when the playoffs kicked off and the Spurs had their series against Portland, I knew San Antonio was the better team and would win the series. I think we all did. But where I really thought it was absurd was when Wembanyama went out and had the concussion. All this talk about, the Spurs were 12-6 without Wemby during the regular season. I thought that type of talk was just garbage because postseason basketball is not regular season basketball. And then what happened? The Spurs go out and win Game 3 in Portland, come from behind, and they did it without Wemby. Well, then I saw them against a playoff experienced team in Minnesota who plays a physical brand of basketball. They lose Game 1 of the series, and they come storming back and win it in 6. And Wembanyama, we saw him get ejected for a game, for most of the game after throwing the elbow on Naz Reid. But when he came back, the Spurs were able to cruise. And after Minnesota tied up the series at 2 games apiece, they won the final 2 games in dominant fashion and go on to win the series in 6 and move on to the Western Conference Finals. So I just realized after the series against Minnesota that, this San Antonio team, they're for real, like right now. And what they've done is they put together a terrific roster that's very deep and versatile. And they've got great young guards in Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper, who play like grown men, very strong guys. And then you got some experience you can sprinkle in with De'Aaron Fox. But the real game changer is Victor Wembanyama. We've never seen a player like him in the NBA at that size, 7'5", who can handle the rock like a guard, shoot from way downtown like we saw last night, over the top of the defense. He was battling down low, getting position around the rim, and they were lobbing it to him all night. He was dominant on the glass with 24 rebounds. He shoots free throws at a high percentage. Like, there's literally nothing he can't do, and yet he's still learning how to play the game. And last night, as I was watching Game 1 unfold, I was like, man, like Oklahoma City's going to have a hard time winning a game in the series. Crazy. So that's what was going through my mind. And for Victor Wembanyama, I mean, he played 50 minutes last night. And I don't know how many times I saw the Thunder dribble into the paint, see Wemby, and they just keep on dribbling right out of the paint, back out behind the three-point line. He changes shots. He blocks shots. He is a terrific defender. And as he continues to round out his game on the offensive end, he'll become unstoppable. And that three-pointer was money.
Castle to Wemby, rising deep three. Wee-wee! Victor Wembanyama, 6 feet behind the line, ties the game at 108.
All right, so after the game, Wemby was asked about the message in that win. Now, it's kind of a weird question, but here's Wemby.
A big response tonight with your performance. If your performance tonight had a message behind it, what would that message be?
The message would be that we as a team are ready to go in any environment, in any place, against anybody. And even though we still got a lot to learn, our effort should be over anybody else's. And tonight we were relentless.
Yeah, they were relentless. No question about it. Now, for SGA, didn't shoot the ball well, 7 of 23 from the field. I would expect him to have a bounce-back performance in game number 2. But frustrating for him because a lot of the shots he's used to making did not go down. And he did not live at the free throw line like we're accustomed to seeing. But he talked about attacking the rim or the challenges of attacking the paint, the rim, when Wemby's in there.
You mentioned you found your cracks a little bit later. How tough is it to prepare a shoot over a guy with that kind of length?
Yeah, it's obviously challenging. It's very tall, very long, deters a lot of things at the rim. Like I said before, you got to be smart when you go in there. Be patient, but also be aggressive and don't be too timid in there. I think you get caught worrying about it too much and you lose aggression, and that's where they really stranglehold on the game. You got to be able to be aggressive but also be smart. Yeah, you got to be smart. And he also talked about the learning experience from game 1. We've been in this situation before, so this feeling's not really new, but it's also a completely different basketball team. But I think that the thing that remains the same is we have to get better with each game. We have to learn the mistakes from the wins and the losses, tonight the losses, and continue to get better. We did that in the previous 2 when we lost game 1. We have to do so again this series if we want to give ourselves a chance. All right. 503-248-0620. I don't know what was going on in my mind. I've been saying all day on the updates that game 1 tonight tips off at 5:30. It actually tips off at 5. So game 1, Knicks and Cavs getting ready to tip off from Madison Square Garden here in a couple of moments. They're going through player introductions right now. Let's go out to the phones. Let's bring up Pat. Pat wants to chime in. Pat, I appreciate the phone call. What's on your mind?
Hey, Chad. I hope you're having a good week. And
you too.
I wanted to talk about the ownership with the radio announcing. And, you know, some of your audience knows, and you know, that I've been blind since I was 10 years old, and I'm 68 now. So I've been around the radio, and I've worked in radio and things, and there's a huge difference between the radio announcing and the TV announcing. And I know Kevin in the past has done excellent on the announcing when he did the Sonics and other things. And, you know, I've listened to the TV, but I'd rather have the radio. And I want to know, do you think it would be beneficial to your audience that doesn't get to games or has a reason why they can't see the games, that we could write emails or letters to the Blazers and to the owner or Joe and let them know why we want to keep the radio going? Do you think that would be beneficial?
Yeah, I do. I think anytime there's someone that has a message to share with leadership, whether it be your local politicians or business owners, or in this case, the Portland Trailblazers, yeah, I think you should let your opinion be heard. And for you, radio call is a critical part of your life because you can't see and you need someone to describe the action so you can follow the game. So, yes, I would reach out and express your concern to the Trailblazers. Absolutely.
I will do that. I just hope many others will because, it's a whole different thing. You've been in radio. You understand it. You see the game on TV and but I remember back when I was really young, I remember watching Boston and L.A. play in the finals, on TV. I remember seeing it.
Yeah, of course.
But now, for the last, many, many years, 58 years, I've been listening to the radio. And
well, I'm all for this, Pat.
I enjoy it.
There's power in numbers, and so I think we need all blind Blazer fans to unite. And, of course, I've been sharing the message.
Amen.
You know how much I care about radio. But, yeah, it's important to you. It's a big part of your life, the radio call.
Yeah. So callers, step up and, help us keep the radio going. The owner wants to save money. I understand that. But there is a piece of just giving to the community, and I hope that this would be a way that he could show the audience that he means well and he wants to see the audience get something for their time, too.
I got it. Well, Pat, I appreciate the phone call. We'll continue to spread the message. 503-248-0620. Knicks and Cavs getting ready to tip off. Now, yesterday I had brought up my current kid rankings. Isaac was 1. He's done a great job with his job. Very proud of him. So he's got the number 1 slot right now. Kaylee almost went to number 3, but then when I found out that she was pulling my leg and it was all a joke about hitting the mailbox on her traffic safety drive, she's number 2. Puppy Shots is number 3, and here's a perfect example of why he's number 3. Anybody that comes anywhere near the home, including delivery drivers, squirrels, possums, raccoons, people passing by to go to the park, he can't handle it. And he's a constant noisemaker. So if you're thinking about getting a dachshund, I would think twice. Now keep going, Shots. Keep going. You hear the mean growl. It's like, come on, Shots. You've been down this path before. You know what's going on. Oh, my gosh. So he's number 3. In the middle of the night, late at night, early in the morning, middle of the day, it doesn't matter. Anyone that comes anywhere near what he deems to be his territory, and he just goes psychotic. And I love little dogs that bark like they're big dogs. Puppy Shots, he's built like Jalen Brunson, but he barks like he's Victor Wembanyama. It's like, come on, man. All right, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, is standing by. We'll break down the NFL schedule. He does a deep dive on that. We'll get his take on Victor Wembanyama. That three-pointer was unreal. And again, I think that he says, wee.
A big response.
Where is it?
Castle to Wemby, rising deep 3. Wee-wee! Victor Wembanyama, 6 feet behind the line, ties the game at 108.
All right, Brendan, let's go out and grab Charlie in Vancouver. Hey, Charlie, I appreciate the phone call. What's on your mind, buddy?
Chad, I know you wish you were alive when this happened, but 1977, a team that had never even made the playoffs before, won, and I wonder if that's ever happened, won the NBA championship. You got a guess of who that team might be?
The Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah, they had this guy named Bill Walton who was very unusual and affected the games in the ways it hadn't been affected completely, both offensively and defensively, in a long time. So it was kind of cool. If injuries wouldn't have put him aside, I think he'd be right up there in the top 5 NBA centers of all time.
Well, there's no question. And the Blazers would have gone back-to-back without question, too. 100%.
Yeah, they were 50-10 when he got hurt. Ouch!
Yeah, it sucks.
All right, thanks, Chad.
You got it, Charlie. All right, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio. We're going to talk with him next. Big thanks to Charlie. Knicks and Cavs are underway, Game 1, Eastern Conference Finals. All right, joining us now is my brother from another mother from Fox Sports Radio, the one, the only, Bino! Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Bino?
Chad doing. Always a good day when I get to talk ball with you, man. Loved it. Loving the NBA playoffs, huh? We got ball always on the brain. It's a great time to be a sports fan right now.
It is a great time to be a sports fan right now. I want you to think about this because I was thinking about this last night. Like, in our lifetime, have we ever seen an athlete like Victor Wembanyama?
No. He's just the dimensions start with that. How many people ever have been his dimensions? 7'4" and a lanky 7'4", right? He just looks so different than most people that height, and then just the skill set. You can talk about his God-given gifts. His height, his wingspan, but look at the skill level you can't just roll out of bed and be blessed with the skill that Wemby has. He can put it on the deck. He's got moves upon moves. Like, that's a lot of work on top of what he was originally blessed with. So he's the total package, man. He is an absolute alien. It's the perfect nickname for him. And, man, he's fun to watch.
I love it. I lost count of how many times we saw Thunder players drive into the paint last night, get one glimpse of Wemby, and they're like, I'm out, and they just dribble right back out to the three-point line. They don't want any part of that, and it's probably smart.
Yeah, it is, because, man, you saw that with the Timberwolves where Terrence Shannon Jr., he was like, we're going to keep attacking the rim. We're just going to keep attacking the rim. And it was like, it was more talk than follow-through on that because they would still attack the rim. It's not like they completely went away from that, but they didn't attack the bucket as much as they said they would.
Yeah.
And listen, man, like, this is just child's play to Wemby. There are certain times like SGA had a dunk toward the end of the game. There are plays to be made in the paint, even with Wemby there, but he affects so many shots. Even shots that aren't blocked are affected somehow. Either you're shooting them way too fast, you rush it. I see NBA guys bricking layups because they're trying to shoot them too fast, right?
Yeah.
Or you put the arc so high, it's just an unnatural shot. So he affects so much, and you're right. They're probably smarter to not keep tempting him, and he's too skilled. He's not going to miss block after block. He's going to block him or affect him.
I like his competitive nature, too. You could tell he was out there enjoying himself playing 50 minutes last night, and I don't know exactly why he hates Chet Holmgren, but you could tell he was enjoying getting over on Chet Holmgren last night, too. I think it's refreshing to see a young guy who's that dominant out there letting people know how much fun he's had dominating you. It's cool.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's like they go back to when they were teenagers, Team France, Team USA, duking it out. And, yeah, man, I love how competitive Wemby is. You could tell as a teenager because Chet won MVP of that USA versus France thing, and Wemby fouled out. And they showed the footage last night where Chet's getting his trophy, and Wemby is just distraught. He's like, this sucks. I want to be anywhere but here right now with this guy, next to me. And I love that he's never let go of that. They showed a little highlight tape of Chet in the NBA missing free throws against the Spurs. And Wemby, it's not like a little fist pump and like, all right. It's like, yeah, right. He absolutely does not like Chet Holmgren, and I love all of that.
That's so cool. I'm going to do the next time we face off to have our rematch for the free throw shooting contest. I'm going to go full on Wemby and start, good job, no way to miss.
I know. Yeah, just go straight Philly fan. Just start heckling. Just lean into it. Might as well.
Yeah, I just really am blown away by Wemby. And I guess the part that's scary to me, Brian, is that if you're a fan of anybody else, especially in the Western Conference, he hasn't even learned how to play the game. Wait until he develops a couple of go-to moves and develops a better understanding of how the game works defensively, and it starts to slow down for him. Like, he'll become an unstoppable force, assuming he's healthy.
Right. Well, that's the scary thing, too, is when you start looking at the West, OKC isn't going anywhere. The Spurs aren't going anywhere. Those are two major, boulders in your way for these other teams. And there's some good teams in the West, but, man, it looks like we're going to see Spurs and Thunder quite often matching up in the Western Conference playoffs. And look, man, I think it could be sensational. That was the first installment last night, and it was off the charts. So just as an NBA fan, I'm here for all of that. Now, if you're a fan of a particular team in the West, like the Blazers, over there in Portland, or all these other teams, Nuggets, Rockets, Lakers, all these teams, right? It's going to be, you got some work to do, man, because the young nucleus of each team is not going anywhere, man. They're going to be really, really tough to deal with for quite some time.
Well, it's kind of like all this talk with the Lakers, right? They're trying to make a decision on what to do with LeBron and how they want to build the team moving forward around Luka. I mean, I don't know how you can look at your roster and say, yeah, let's just bring it back as is, because you don't have near enough to be able to get the job done against San Antonio or, heck, even Oklahoma City for that fact.
Right. I know it. It's like watching the game last night and watching Wemby do what he does. And OKC didn't play that well. And all of a sudden you look up and you're like, if Wemby doesn't hit a logo 3, they're winning that game.
Yeah.
And they didn't even really play that well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're these other teams and you're making these decisions like, man, do we give Austin Reeves huge money as the Lakers? And you just watch what was on display last night. You're like, I don't know that it even really matters right now if these certain decisions and us trying to get into a position to challenge these teams. That's a sobering reality when you're like, man, we can try, but it's probably not going to happen, short of injury or something crazy happening.
No question. I thought about you last night. I prayed that you did not have the under in the game, because the under was good through the first overtime, but it had to go to 2 overtimes to go over. Brutal.
How ugly is that, man?
It's the worst.
Yeah. I was looking at the team totals. I'll write all these prop bets down and just kind of keep track of them, and it'll kind of help me see things that I might not have seen live during the games. And so I'll keep track of the team totals also. Chad, the Oklahoma City Thunder team total for game 1, 113.5. They got to 115 thanks to double overtime. So if you're on the under, just that OKC team total, or you're right, under on the game, that is atrociously bad, man.
Yeah, and there are times where you're on the right side, but you still lose. And that was an example last night. The under was the right play, but you get punked because the game goes into double overtime.
Oh, just brutal. It was a dead under game the whole time.
Yeah.
And they just happened to be tied after regulation and the first overtime. Brutal.
All right, do you agree with the conventional wisdom that the winner of the Western Conference Finals will be the NBA champion?
I do.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. And, hey, I give props to the Knicks. They've been fantastic so far in the playoffs.
For sure.
And they've dominated, right? They dominated both of their opponents, the Hawks and the Sixers, respectively. You have to add that. I don't know why. Anything I read, you have to add that. I'm not sure why, but whatever. But you know what? I think this, Chad, I think we grade on a Knicks curve.
Yeah.
Where, let's take the Cavs or the Pistons. Let's say the Pistons, they beat the Hawks after trailing 2-1, and they might have been dominant down the stretch, and then they sweep the Sixers. Are we going crazy for the Pistons? I don't think so. Are we going crazy for the Cavs? I don't think so.
No.
We just get giddy because they've got an awesome fan base. There's electricity around this team trying to get to the finals for the first time in a long time, first time to win the finals since 73.
Yeah.
And I think we just get lost in the emotion. It's like we get lost in the sauce over here. At the end of the day, they beat the Hawks, who don't have a big guy.
Yeah.
And they beat the Sixers, who have a banged-up big guy. Like, I need to see a lot more before I buy the Knicks to beat either the Spurs or the Thunder. I don't see that at all.
I'm with you. Oh, and by the way, speaking of injured big guys, like, I'm out on guys like any player in the NBA that's a max player guy that can't give me half a season and be available in the postseason. I don't want any type of player like that. Like, it just doesn't work for me. I'm sorry.
I know it. And it's like, once those big guys start getting banged up, it just doesn't seem like they ever heal. And I love Embiid as a player, but you can't sign him to a max deal when he's hardly ever available.
I agree. It's like, what good are you if you're not available when the team needs you at it the most in the postseason?
I know it. And really, you saw both sides of the argument on display, because the closeout game against the Celtics, he was unbelievable. So for Daryl Morey, he's like, well, that's why we extended him. That's why we signed him to a max deal. And then for guys like you and me, we're like, yeah, but he hardly played against the Knicks. That's why you can't hitch your wagon to that guy. You just can't.
Yeah, I agree. Brian No, Fox Sports Radio, is with us. All right, I got to give you this because I want your take on it. And by the way, thank you for sending me your NFL schedule details, because no one breaks it down the way you do. But, dude, at Kansas City Monday night to kick off the season.
Yeah.
Home against Jacksonville, home against the Rams on a little Sunday night action, at the 49ers, at the Chargers, home against the Seahawks on a Thursday. What the F?
I know.
That's the Denver Broncos' first 6 games. Jeez.
It's brutal, man. And it's funny, too, because the announcement, you'll remember, when they kind of do the strip tease the week of,
yes.
They lead up to Thursday and unveil all the schedules for all the teams. Shefty unveiled that it was going to be the Broncos playing the Chiefs. We don't know where, but it's going to be Broncos against the Chiefs. And then later in the day, Shefty was like, yeah, they finalized the details. That's it's going to be in Kansas City, right? So you start off first game of the year, Chad, in Kansas City, where the Chiefs just had this disaster of a 2025 season. They're going to be completely locked in, completely ready to go. They're at home. Arrowhead's going crazy. Mahomes will be on the field. I don't even know why that's a question anymore. And that's how you start your season. And then, like you said, it's Jags, Rams on a Sunday night, 2 road games. Niners, Chargers, and oh, by the way, how about a short week against the defending champs? Well, let's just throw that in there for a good seasoning right there. That's 6 straight games of really tough matchups. If you're 3-3 at the end of that, you probably walk away saying, I'll take it. I don't know that you can hope for more than 3-3 when you're looking at that.
Well, exactly. And what's crazy about that, and you know this in the NFL, like the Broncos could play really good football over the course of that 6-week stretch to kick off the season and come out of that 2-4. Like that's quite possible.
Oh, absolutely it is.
Oh,
no
my
doubt.
gosh.
That's a really, really tough stretch, man.
Oh.
That's rough.
All right. So what are some of your big takeaways after you broke down the schedule?
Well, that was one of them, was the Broncos' beginning to the season is just so difficult. One of the other ones is, why are we running back Patriots Seahawks to start the whole season? What are we doing here with it?
I'll tell you why. Why do you think the NFL would do that right now with the first game of the year, a Super Bowl rematch?
I don't know if they just want to get rid of all the Vrabel stuff. Like, all right, get your jokes out. Go ahead, have fun. Yeah, I know he hooked up with Diana Rossini. Go ahead, yeah have your fun.
I think that's why they did it. I think that's why. I think they did it because, and they'll never admit to this, but if you put Vrabel on that opener against the Seahawks, the defending champs, you get a Super Bowl rematch. Plus, the most talked about coach in America is going to be in that opener. I think people will tune in for that. I know that much.
Yeah, they will. That's true. Look, man, I'll watch it from beginning to end. You know me, Chad, but I just saw this matchup, So the Seahawks punked the Patriots on a neutral field, and I'm supposed to believe that heading into this game, the Patriots are going to go on the road and beat the Seahawks? I mean, it's possible. These aren't the same exact rosters, and we all believe that the Patriots are going to have A.J. Brown after the trade with the Eagles. So that adds a little bit of pizzazz, little stank on that matchup. But I don't know about you, Chad. I would much rather have seen Bears at the Seahawks. Caleb Williams.
That'd be awesome.
Right, top quarterback. Bears had an unexpectedly really good season. And maybe they're trying to go deeper in the playoffs this year. That, to me, like even bigger market in Chicago, that's got a better sell. I'll tell you right now, what is it, May 19th? I'm like, man, I can't wait for Bears-Patriots. That's how I would feel right now. I can't say I feel like that about Patriots-Seahawks.
I would do anything if they would sign Rossini to a one-day deal to be sideline reporter in that game. Like, I need that. So it'd be so great. I need that in my life. And I need a few more Patriot players throwing in hey, Coach Vrabel's a great human being. I love that stuff.
Oh, man, that's awesome. That's so good. Yeah, I love that. Can we get who's doing the game? It should be NBC, right? That's the way we begin the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, can we sign Rossini to a one-day contract and, be on the field where I know Dungy isn't going to be back this year, but can we get Rossini there in his place for one night? That'd be pretty good.
Yeah, no doubt. Aaron Rodgers has, not that this is a surprise, I knew that he was coming back when the Steelers didn't do anything meaningful in terms of adding a veteran quarterback, so I'm not surprised by that. But I was trying to think of the reasoning behind this. Don't you think that the Steelers, that they've got a lot of veterans, especially on defense, that this is kind of their way to say, hey, we'll have one last run before we go young and break up this group, that you bring back Rodgers, he gets to work with the coach he's played with before, and you let your vets know that we're going to make one more run at it.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And look, man, I just don't know why the Steelers are so against just resetting fully.
Yes.
They just keep going the Band-Aid route. It's been since Big Ben, gosh, I can't even name each quarterback. Kenny Pickett was in there. Justin Fields was in there. Now it's Rodgers. Mitch Trubisky for a season. It's like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? I would much rather, if I'm a diehard Steelers fan, I would rather start Will Howard or Drew Aller the whole season and be 5-12, 6-11, whatever we are, and be in a better position, in the draft. And that doesn't mean wherever they're going to be. Let's say they're in the teens. Let's say they sneak into the playoffs and they're 21st or whatever they are. It doesn't mean that they can't find their quarterback of the future at that point of the draft.
Yeah.
It can happen, but when you're at the top, you're going to be drafting a better prospect. And a lot of times the better prospects turn out more times than not to be the better quarterbacks than the lesser prospects. So, I mean, it's the same old story with the Steelers. They're going to be good enough to have a lesser draft pick and not good enough to be really relevant. So it's like, what did that really accomplish?
Yeah, I agree 100%. So what I'm looking at in the AFC, like you think about the Steelers, at best they'll be, 9-8, 10-7. But look at the AFC, and you know this, the competition. 3 teams in the West, Denver, Kansas City, and the Chargers, who are contenders. In the South, you've got Jacksonville, Indy, and Houston. In the North, it's Baltimore, Cincy, and Pittsburgh. And you got Buffalo and New England in the East. Like that conference is loaded up with 11 teams that can compete.
Hey, don't forget about my Dolphins, Chad.
Bad.
They're young, but they're ready to shock the world with receivers you've never heard of before.
Hey, all I know is thank you for Waddle. I appreciate that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, yeah, enjoy that. Yeah. But you're right, man. It is such a deep conference. There's a lot of, Joe Burrow getting a little chesty, right? Saying
I like that.
Hey, we got all we need right now. And it's like, oh, okay, Bengals, all right. Man, I'll tell you what. You want a little brother syndrome fan base. That is your Cincinnati Bengals, Chad. Anytime I say anything halfway critical about the Bengals on Fox Sports Radio, they come after my jugular, man. They're crazy, but they're notoriously slow starters. And the first 4 games for the Bengals, you get Tampa, at the Texans, at the Steelers, hosting Jacksonville. For as slow as they typically start, that is not a gimme type schedule. So I'm curious how they start the season. If they start off slowly again, once they get past those first 4 games, it's very favorable. But, man, their defense has to be a lot better than what it's been for them to do anything.
Yeah, and that's my concern with them is the defense. What I really want is Joe Burrow to be healthy. The league is better when he's playing. I love his mastery over the position, but like a lot of great players, it's always about health with him.
Yeah, no, it is. Absolutely. And that's the thing is I don't know why. A lot of people, I think this about the Bengals, man. The one year they got to the Super Bowl and gave the Rams a game, they were right there, had a chance to win it. It's bought them so much grace. And I don't think they deserve it, man. The last 3 years, 9-8, 9-8, 6-11 last season. That's just unacceptable. But yet, it's like every year they're like, oh, if the Bengals sneak into the playoffs, you don't want to face them. It's like, with their sucky defense, bring them on. Why are we cowering from the Bengals, man? Like, I don't know why that one Super Bowl appearance has bought them so much grace. But it happens year in and year out. It's got to be way better than it is. And this is a huge year because Joe Burrow, when he's talking last season at the end where he's like, it's really not fun right now. If this is another terrible season, I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, yo, I might be better somewhere else. Get me out of here. So there's a lot riding on this season for Houday.
All right. I want to keep you for another segment if you would be so kind. Do you have the time for that?
I always have time for Chad doing. Always. Woo! Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, we'll come back and we'll close out the show with Bino. And I want to get his take on a couple more teams. And I'll ask him, of the teams that missed the postseason, who's primed to have a comeback and a return to the postseason? Brian Noel, more with him. Fox Sports Radio coming up next. All right. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, kind enough to hang out. So, Bino, do you think the Chiefs will make a return to, the top of the AFC after a brutal year? And I'm assuming that, Patrick Mahomes, I don't know how long it will take him to get back to 100%, but I would expect him to be ready for the opener.
Yeah, I think he's going to be ready for the opener, and we'll see. I like how you said that. For him to get back to, peak Mahomes form, we'll see. And Rashee Rice, goodness, man, I don't know.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. Weed is not worth the clink, it's just
30 days. 30 days in prison for breaking probation because he had to smoke tree. I don't understand.
It's not worth it, man. It's just not, tree equals clink. No, that's a bad equation. Right? You need a different equation. Good. Yeah, but in seriousness, with the football side of this, as talented as Rashee Rice is, he's been a disaster off the field, man. He's always getting in trouble. So can you count on that guy on the field? You couldn't count him on the field last season either. He was dropping really important catches. One was on Thanksgiving against the Cowboys. One, Mahomes had to do the surrender cobra on the field, right? It was a little pass over the middle. He drops it. He goes surrender cobra. That's how bad it was. So I think that the Chiefs are, with Mahomes, I just can't imagine them being in the realm of 6-11-ish again. I just don't see that happening. But they have a pretty challenging schedule, Chad, when you look at playing the NFC West top to bottom. You play in a tough division. And for a third-place schedule, you would think it'd be a little bit more favorable than this. You get the Colts at home on a Sunday night. You're at the Falcons, at the Bengals. And it's I would think it'd be a little more favorable than that with a third-place schedule. So they don't get a huge break as far as that goes. So I think they'll be in the thick of the race for the AFC West, but I don't know how awesome their season is going to be. They've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, no question about it. I'm anxious to see, and I love Patrick Mahomes. He's such a great quarterback. I just want him to get back to 100% so we can see him at his best because he's so much fun to watch. So give me a team that maybe missed the postseason last year, but you think is going to, make a stride forward to get back to postseason play. Would it be Detroit or somebody else? What do you think?
Chad, it's funny. You gave me award-winning advice with the Blazers over 34.5 season wins.
What you got?
I love the Detroit Lions this season, my friend. Oh, my gosh. It's at 10.5, and I just let them playing a last-place schedule. You get at the Cardinals, you get the Titans and the Giants at home. That's their last-place schedule. Those are the three games that it affects. Plus, you play the NFC South top to bottom, not a gauntlet division. Plus, you play the AFC East top to bottom with my sad Dolphins and the pathetic Jets. That's a very favorable schedule. We know their division is very tough, but this team is too talented. They drafted a tackle, an offensive tackle with their first-round pick, and that's the thing, man. If you can get that offensive line back to where you're used to seeing it, all of a sudden it opens up their entire offense. Jared Goff is a fish out of water when facing a pass rush, so it starts with their O-line, and with Jahmyr Gibbs running the ball, it was a gauntlet last year, Chad, playing a first-place schedule. Their road schedule was insanely difficult, and they were still a 9-8 football team. So I look for the Lions to have a big resurgence this year.
Who do you give the edge to in the NFC West? Niners, Rams, Seahawks?
I still love the Rams. It seems like everybody loves the Rams right now, but going into last season, it's funny. We clowned the Patriots for playing a really favorable schedule. Heading into the season, the Niners were due to face the easiest schedule. And it doesn't always work out that way, Chad, right? That was based on the records of the previous year.
Yeah.
And sometimes these sucky teams from one year, they're a lot better the next season, right? So it doesn't always play out that way. But the Niners, believe it or not, played a very favorable schedule. So for them this season, it gets tougher. And I would not be surprised if the Niners take a step back. So I've got my eye on them not winning the division. I still think it comes down to Rams, Seahawks. I just like the Rams, man. They're so talented. Matthew Stafford's still one of the best in the business. And really, if you look at how they lost the division last season, they had a 16-point lead on the road. And one of the 2-point conversions the Seahawks got bounced off a Rams player's helmet into the end zone. And because Zach Charbonnet was just I'll just pick up the ball for no good reason, that turned out to be a 2-point conversion because it was technically a backwards pass. Like, that's what it took for the Rams to lose the division last season. I just think they're better than the Seahawks, and I think that the Rams take the NFC West.
You know what's amazing about that play? And, of course, I think that's the game that got Seattle the championship. We're talking about a play that seems so crazy that ended up giving Seattle home field advantage.
Just insane, right? And look at the Rams' path. Like, the Rams, they had a hard test on the road against Carolina.
Brutal.
That game was in doubt, you know? They barely pulled that one out. And then they played the Bears on the road and barely pulled that one out before going on the road against Seattle. So the paths were night and day. Meanwhile, Seattle crushed the Niners at home. They had one playoff game before the NFC title game at home. That game was huge for the NFC playoffs last year. That second regular season game in Seattle, Seahawks won. But man, if somehow that gift from the football gods, that 2-point conversion doesn't go down the way it did, I could see the roles being completely reversed last season for the Rams and Seahawks.
100%. One final question for you. Do you expect C.J. Stroud to have a bounce back year?
Man, I think that he could be good. I think that he could be better. But to the point where it's like, oh, it's a no-brainer. Extend this guy. Give him all the money in the world, market rate-wise. I don't know that we're going to see that from him, Chad. I have serious doubts about C.J. Stroud. It was one magical rookie season, and he was a stud. He was fantastic his rookie year. And he's taken a step back every single year since. They extended Will Anderson because he's a stud, and they're dragging their heels with C.J. Stroud because he's given you more than enough reason to drag your heels. 4 interceptions in one half of football against the Patriots, who do not have an all-world defense. That's just unacceptable. So he's got a lot of work to do, and I don't know where he's at confidence-wise. He's typically been a very confident quarterback, but he just does not look like that on the field right now. So to have a bounce-back season in terms of like leaps and bounds and all of a sudden the football world is totally sold on him again, I don't know that we're going to see that, Chad. I would bet against that happening.
All right, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio. B-No, enjoy the ball, and we'll talk soon, man. I love you, buddy.
Always great talking to you, Chad. The love is mutual. I make time for you and Dua Lipa. That's the 2 on my list. You and Dua Lipa in no certain order right there.
I love it, buddy. We'll talk soon. There's B-No. We'll keep things rolling. We'll come back, and Rich Burke is going to join me as he's getting ready for Hops baseball tonight. You got the Rip City Drive. All right, very happy to welcome in the voice of your Hillsborough Hops, who's in Eugene as the Hops get ready to kick off a 6-game set with the Emeralds. Rich Burke on the RipCityDrive. Rich, good evening, my friend.
Hey, it's good to hear your voice. It's been way too long.
I know. I haven't seen you since opening night when you guys opened up the new ballpark, so I've got to ask, what's it been like to be at the new park and be able to take in the games?
Only incredible. It's unbelievable. It's a big league park in a smaller package. People who haven't come there, when they come out, they're going to be wowed. As most people know, the Hops are the only team in the Portland area affiliated with a major league team. And 70 former Hops have gone on to play in the big leagues. So we've had a couple of players go on to play in the big leagues the same year that they played for us. And it usually takes a couple of years. But it's just the caliber of play is very good, and the ballpark is off the charts.
Yeah, visually, too, from your broadcast position, it looks like a great place to be able to sit and call a game.
It's crazy how good it is. And we have, in our home broadcast booth, we have windows that slide to the side, so we have nothing in front of us. And we can even see, I didn't expect this, we can even see from our broadcast location the top of Mount Hood.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's spectacular, Rich. I'm so happy for you guys. I mean, to have a vision, to get everything done that needed to get done and see this park in place, it's awesome. So I'm glad, I'm happy for you guys, and it's great to have you on the show. And the Hops right now playing some pretty good baseball. They've won 4 of 5, including Sunday's 4-2 win over Spokane as they get ready to kick off this series against Eugene.
Yeah, they're playing better. They had some issues in the bullpen early on. The starting rotation has been good. Offense has been hit and miss, but they're kind of ramping up for the second half. Obviously, there are two purposes for minor league baseball. Number one, everybody wants to win. Everybody down in that dugout wants to win every game they go out to play. At the same time, people in the organization want to develop players to be able to help the Arizona Diamondbacks or to be good pieces in potential trades for established major leaguers. And so player development is important, and also every player down in the dugout wants to be able to develop and learn what they need to learn so they can succeed later on at the major league level. So as far as player development goes, we feel like things are going well. There's some pitching that's going to be able to help some major league teams in the future. And as far as wins and losses go, the Hops are out of the first half race. The first half ends June 18th. The second half begins June 19th. Every minor league uses a split season format. You have a first half champion in the Northwest League and a second half champion, and they meet for the league championship series. If the same team wins both halves, then it'll be the second place team from the second half alone. So as far as wins and losses go, the Hops are angling toward that second half. It looks like the team they're playing tonight to open up this series, Eugene, is going to win that first half. They have an 8-game lead on second place Everett. It would take a big-time collapse for them to not win this half. And so the Hops would love to be their playoff opponent come September. And what they need to do in this series is just get some good juju against this team. They've only won 1 of previous 9 meetings this year. So get 3 or 4 wins in this series. That would be really good against a very good Eugene team.
All right, Rich, what can you tell us about tonight's pitching matchup with Rio Britton and Tyler Switalski?
Well, Rio Britton is a former Oregon Duck, and throws hard. He's 2-2, 4.98 ERA, kind of bounced back and forth between the rotation and the bullpen. And the thing is, the Hops really have 9 or 10 qualified starting pitchers. So they end up doing what you call a piggyback a lot of nights, where you have 2 starting pitchers going that night, and the second guy knows he's going to come in to start an inning somewhere around maybe the 4th or the 5th. So that happens a lot of times. Not sure exactly if that's happening tonight. It's possible that we could see David Hageman in that piggyback role tonight. Tyler Switalski is going to go for Eugene. He like Britton, the starter for the Hops, is a left-hander, 2-1, 3.45 ERA. This Eugene team is good. Now, The San Francisco Giants, so I know we have a lot of Giants fans, kind of a disproportionate amount in the Portland area. The Eugene team is a Giants affiliate. They're 3 levels below the big leagues. The team just below the Giants, the Sacramento River Cats, they have the best record in the Pacific Coast League. The team below that, the AA team in Richmond, Virginia, they have the second best record among 120 minor league teams. And the Eugene Emeralds have the best record among 120 minor league teams. They're 30-9. They pitch really well. They've got a great hitting prospect. I mean, they have a few, but the guy I think of is Dakota Jordan, their center fielder, who has incredible opposite field pop. The next time the Emeralds come into Hillsboro, any Giants fans or anybody who wants to see future big leaguers needs to come out and see Dakota Jordan play. That's great. We're talking with Rich Burke, voice of the Hops here on the Rip City Drive. Hops getting ready to take on Eugene in the first of 6 games, which is coming up at 6:20 here on your home of the Hops, Rip City Radio 620. So it would sound like, based on what you've laid out, that if the Hops are kind of setting their sights on that second half and being able to put together some good baseball, that this series right now is a good springboard if they can put some things together. Right. Exactly. They need to get some wins under their belt against this team that they and everybody else has had a difficult time beating. All right. I wanted to ask you about the Oregon State Beavers. You also get a chance to call a lot of their games. What do you expect when the selection committee gets together? Do you think they'll be hosting a regional? Will they be on the road? What are your thoughts there? What are you hearing? That is the question, isn't it? Yeah, for the last 2 years, I've had a chance to call every Oregon State home game on TV. That's awesome. With Bill Rao, and it's so much fun. The audience is huge. You sound like you're having fun too, Rich. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. We really are. I love it. It's one of my favorite things that I do, and I give them a 70% chance to host. That's good. Yeah, I do. If you look at RPI, as of right now, they're just outside the top 16. But that's not the only metric. I know the committee takes other things into account, and one of the things they do take into account is the rankings. And the human beings like the Beavers more than the RPI does because they're a consensus top 10 team. If it were up to most of the national rankings, they'd be a top 8 national seed because they're ranked in the top 8. So I think all things considered, they swept 4 road series. They were 15-2 in true road games. They won all 11 weekend series they played. They only had 1 losing weekend. Their first 3 weeks they played tournaments, and in the tournament down in Texas they went 1-2. But against single opponents on weekends, they won every series, all 11 of them, including 8 sweeps. Their pitching staff, the numbers are among the best in the country, and they lead the nation in a lot of those categories, and they have the top fielding percentage in the country. So a lot of positives for Oregon State. I like their chances to host. We'll see come 6 days on Selection Monday. And it's been a challenge for them, too, don't you think? I mean, as an independent, to be able to put together the schedule, like I applaud their efforts because it's tough. It is so tough to find opponents. Yes, brutal. Because, good teams like the Oregon Ducks, they don't want to come into Corvallis and play the Beavs. They had every chance to do that, and they turned those chances down. And, it's tough to get good teams to come into Corvallis into that environment. So, kudos to teams that have great history, like Cal State Fullerton, for coming in. Cal Poly came in. UC Irvine came in. And then Mercer, they came in early on. It's a team out of Georgia, and they're just outside the top 25 in the RPI. And Beaver Nation should be rooting for Mercer in their conference tournament because if they can duck inside the top 25, that's 3 more quad 1 wins for Oregon State, which would look good on the resume. That's terrific. And I can understand the other team's thinking. It's like, wait a second, why would we go to Corvallis and schedule a losing series? It's a tough place to play with what they've been able to build there. So I'm excited to see what they can put together. Have you ever been to a College World Series in Omaha? I haven't. It's either on my list. Yes. I want to do it. I happened to be there last year to call some pro volleyball, and this is prior to the 2025 season. I happened to be there on the day of Oregon State baseball's fundraising dinner in late January, what they call their Diamond Dinner. Oh, and so I recorded the message right out in front of the ballpark and said, I hope you guys are celebrating on this field in about 5 months. And in fact, they did celebrate. They had the walk-off on the Gavin Turley double. Then when they won their first game in the College World Series, they didn't have the ultimate celebration, but it was a good trip to Omaha for them, and I will get there someday.
Well, that's great. The two things I've really grown to love is, I find that I find different sports. I get interest in different sports as time goes on. I want to go to Omaha to see a College World Series, and I've become a huge fan of the softball game. I would love to go to Oklahoma City to see a women's College World Series as well.
Yeah, I would too. Softball is such a good sport. I understand there's some pro softball coming to Hillsborough this summer. I don't know a whole lot about it, but in my time covering college softball, it's really entertaining. And just by the way, shout out to the Southern Oregon Raiders. People in the Portland area need to understand this, that there's a softball team at the NAIA level in Oregon that has won 4 of the last 6 national championships.
Wow.
And their head coach, Jessica Pistol, I had a chance to meet her last week. The culture that she builds down there is incredible. I'm serious, Chad. A documentary needs to be done on this. This team does a 50-mile hike every fall among the many things they do for team building. By the time they get to the postseason, it's so much easier for them than other teams because of all the things that they've done leading up to it. And they start their College World Series run in Columbus, Georgia on Thursday. And I know this because my broadcast partner with the Oregon State Beavers, the former Beaver national champion player, Bill Rao, is also the hitting coach for the Southern Oregon softball team. And they start their run at the World Series on Thursday.
That's great. Rich Burke, voice of the Hops, with us. Well, Rich, thanks for taking time to join the show, and have a great call tonight, man. I'm looking forward to the series.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Chad. I appreciate it. And let's do it again.
Yeah, let's do it again. All right, there's Rich Burke. He's coming up here in just a couple of moments on Rip City Radio as the Hops kick off a series in Eugene against the Emeralds. Right now, first half, Cavs-Knicks tied up at 44 at Madison Square Garden, Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals coming up tomorrow from Oklahoma City. So it's been kind of a back-and-forth game. The Knicks had built an early lead, but the Cavs have battled back to even it up. So we'll see how things continue to shake out. Impressed by the Cavs' effort here in the first half, coming off a back-to-back 7-game series. Very impressive. All right, big thanks to our guest today, the Godfather Dwight Janes, for taking time to join the show and sharing his thoughts. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio. Brendan engineering the program today. I'll be back tomorrow, Rip City Drive at 3. I did not play golf this morning. My back a little bit tweaked, so tomorrow I'll get a chiropractic adjustment in the morning, and then I've got a workout before I come into work, which will be nice with my buddy Luke, and then hopefully be back on the course with no issues coming up on Thursday. But this weather has been spectacular. I like the warm air and the dry temperatures, or not the dry temperatures, dry conditions. That's what I like. I'm totally down with that. 503-248-0620. Man, the Cavs bombing away from downtown. Donovan Mitchell hitting threes. Now the Cavs have taken a 2-point lead. And we're heading to halftime at Madison Square Garden. So great job by the Cavs to battle back. They got a 2-point lead at the half. All right, that's going to do it for me. You guys have a good night. Coming up next, we got Hillsborough Hops baseball. Rich Burke on the call. They're in Eugene to meet the Emeralds on your home of the Hops, Rip City Radio 620. Have a good night.